Good day, this 137th day, meaningful moments, 365 days. So a most meaningful moment came to me just as I was in those quiet spaces, right before you get ready for bed, if you can allow yourself to prepare in that way. And I was thinking about what events had taken place over the weekend and, the different beautiful experiences and other experiences that we have that, kind of just tinge on something that feels a little uncomfortable or, makes us wonder, what's that all about? And it brought my awareness to silent communications. This is something that I've really been longing to do, like tap into, tune into the different ways that life is communicating with us. And I've thought about it, of course, with, people, our relationships, our loved ones in our life, but also with, the furry friends that I've had in my life, the invaluable lessons that I learned from my cat and other animals in my journey when my children were young or before children. And then nature, the way that all life is communicating, whether it's from the mineral kingdom. Think about times I sat on rocks and how I felt they were communicating or speaking with me, or I with them, when I lived in Mount Shasta, and many other places, in forests, when I walked trails and touched trees or felt the presence of the flowers, whatever that might be. And perhaps you can relate to some of these experiences, same as I feel like I've spoken about it a lot, how the sun feels upon me, how whispers in the wind feels, laying in the grass, being connected to the earth, so many ways. And that longing has been like to learn the language of them. I really do believe that there was a time when it was much more, or when perhaps we were much more adept as a human species to be able to connect with life in that way and really be able to understand, the clouds, the everything, understand the weather and the way the soil spoke to us. And some people, I think, still retain these arts, and many people, I think, are resurging these arts as well. I feel called to be one of those. But these silent communications is something that I've been tuning into very close at hand. And they're the kind of silent communications, like everything in life, that has that flip side of the coin. So the silent communications that we tune into, I've been listening a lot to my cat lately, and we've been thinking about another companion coming into our home for many reasons. But, listening to my cat, feeling certain that he is understanding so much of what we say and speak about. It amazes me how people, like humans, as humans, we go, oh, that cat or that dog or whomever, the pig is really smart, Of course they are. Just because we don't understand the way someone communicates doesn't mean that they're not intelligent. And it behooves me to really take that in and think, like, are we the ones that aren't intelligent? To not understand that people have different ways of communicating. So that's one thing that's been coming to me a lot as I've been spending extra time with my cat and feeling, perceiving, communicating with him about the possibility of a companion coming, and his asking for it in many ways, and has been probably for some time. That's one thing. Then the other side of it is that non-communication. That thing that happens when you feel that little bit of something feels a little uncomfortable, whether it comes up in a conversation with a friend, with a coworker, with a loved one, whomever it might be. And suddenly you find yourself in a moment that there is like no words to be able to say or to interpret what someone else may be processing. It's a feeling that you perceive, but the words aren't coming out of the other individual as well. And there's this non-communication that's happening, this silent communication. So it brings us back to the same place, for me at least. It brings me back to that, what are they saying? What is it that's being communicated in the silence, in the non-spoken word? Trusting that feeling, and then being able to tenderly work with that and allow for the process to unfold so that I can receive the information correctly and find a way to elicit that communication, or just wait for it to come. But allowing that kind of that interval and that space to occur. And the more that I do that, the more I realize that everything around me in my circles become more effective in communicating. And perhaps it all just began with me being receptive to wanting to understand the communication in the silence, as well as what is spoken or uttered or not being able to be said at that moment. So there's so many different levels of that communication that go on. And I suppose it just requires us to really develop that sense of stillness to be able to receive. And what we don't understand in the moment, to release that into that space, that interval, that moment or moments of silence. There's a lot to all that. And that has been the meaningful moment, plurals, moments, that have been occurring. So hoping that today this reaches you in some way, and perhaps in whatever communications you are or aren't having, and honoring what can come forth to help us all better understand. Namaste.